What's up, guys? Today we are in the garage and we're going to change the fuel filter on my V8 250. It's a 4-stroke. This also works for V6s. The water separating fuel filter. Here's the box of it right here. Fuel filter, Mercury. What we're going to do today is we're going to change it out. You have to do it every 300 hours or so, or else the motor gives you an alarm, which is why you're checking on this, because somebody told you or your motor told you you need to change the fuel filter. So that's what we're doing today. So the first step, I already took the motor cover off. If you're not sure how to do that, you probably shouldn't have a motor because it's pretty easy. It just has that flap up there. You push the button down, picks up. There's a handle on here, on there that you just pick up, take off. It's easiest to do if you're on the back of the boat when the motor's upright. And then, or you could do it like I did, where I just trim the motor all the way down, which is what you want to do for this. I trim the motor all the way down to make sure it's just about vertical up and down. And that's the first step for me, to make sure that that is perfectly straight up and down, because it's honestly just going to make it easier. The next step is to get yourself a nice light that you can prop in there, and also get some paper towels, because when you take some of these hoses off, the fuel will spill a little bit. Maybe. It's going to be very minimal, if at all. But what I do first is, I already took one of the hoses off, but I take and shove a paper towel down into here, so that way it's not going to get in the way. So there's two hoses, and there's one power that goes to it, and that's the only things you really have to connect. First thing is you also need some grease. They recommend Mercury 240 grease, but I just have some grease that I had laying around that it's just going to help it seat down in there, which is important. So the first thing to notice is these clamps right here that are a pain in the butt. You can see it right there. These are push in. So you push your thumb in and then you pull the clamps off. You just wiggle them back and forth, turn them, and they will pop off. But that is the important part to note with these clamps, because it can be kind of misleading whether you pull them out or push them in, but they push in. The next piece you are going to see is this little clamp right here. And what that is that is your power to your fuel filter, and it just has this little tab on top. And I'm showing you off of it because it's easier to see how it comes off when you already have it off. So all this tab is this tab latches over a tab. So this goes over top of a little slot piece. So you literally just push up on this and this pops right off. Super easy to take off. And then I take and I fold this up out of the way, so that way it's not in my way for the rest of the process. So then I put my light right up here, so I have that. I've pulled the first tab off, and the next step is going to be reaching back and pushing the next hose off. As you can see, let me get my light back up here. So I pulled the other one off, as you can see right in there. That other line, which is right there, is pulled off now. If you're struggling to get it off, which it can kind of be a struggle bus with, fat hands back in through there, a small screwdriver is good to push in there to push in on the tab. I gotta get the light for this too. To push in on the tab, using that screwdriver to push in on the tab, because you can kind of push it down and move it a little bit to where it holds down. Then you can use one hand to push it off there. But all you do is push those tabs in, and they push or pull off depending on which side you're using. So the next part that we're gonna do is you have to twist it out, and it's just a 1/4 turn twist. And mount my light back up. And all you're going to do is grab a hold of that, and you're going to twist it this way. You're going to twist it clockwise. So all I'm going to do is grab a hold of it, twist it, and then it should pull right up out of there. Ooh. And as you can see, I just dumped gas all over the floor. So that's one thing you have to be careful of, is this is full of gas. And so I just dropped gas on the floor right there. But so now you just have to pour gas out in a proper location, light it on fire, do something you want with it. But now this is your old fuel filter. And this one's pretty worn. You can see the bottom of it's pretty worn right there. But yeah, they recommend you change this every 300 hours. And so I'm gonna get rid of this one, and then I'm gonna get back, grab the other one, and show you how to prep it to put it in there for the next step. So the next step is we're gonna take some lube, we're gonna take some of that grease, and we're gonna put it right around the edge of this bottom right here, right on this ring. And all that's going to do is that's going to help that seat in there. It's also going to create a better seal. If you've ever changed any kind of seals on anything, whether it's a rubber O-ring, a rubber seal on anything, it's always best to lube it, because it creates an airtight seal a whole lot better, and it will help cause that, or help that O-ring or that plastic seal to not erode faster. It'll help it move and seat better in there. as opposed to without it. Without it, it'll catch and it'll pinch, but with lube on there, what it'll do is it'll seat properly in there. So that goes for any kind of seal you're changing. Always lube the bottom of it up or lube the top of it up to make it seat better. So I'm gonna lube that up and then show you how to get it in there. So all I'm doing is taking that lube and rubbing it around the base of this. This is just wheel bearing grease, just so that way it's something that'll hold up to high pressure, because this is gonna get hot, and it's also just gonna help that seat down in there. So I just took a little bit of grease with my finger and I rubbed it right around that edge, because that's what's gonna be seated down inside of there. It'll also make removal a whole lot easier because it won't be sticking at all. There'll be that kind of barrier there. So we got that lubed up. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take and put that slot, put this, because this tab is what holds it in place. We're gonna put it down in and we're gonna twist it counterclockwise, that corner turn, to tighten it up. So I'll show you what the bottom of it looks like so you can see where it's going. If you look right down inside of there, you can see that small slot on the front side of that pocket. That's where that notch is gonna go in on the bottom of there, and then you're gonna twist it down into that slot. So you'll see that notch. That's where this piece goes right here. This small notch, that's gonna go right down inside of there, and that's what's gonna twist and lock that into place to keep it from bouncing around. So now we're gonna take our new fuel filter and we are going to casually maneuver it through all of the wires and seat it down into there. Hopefully you guys can get a good view of this. Gotta make sure I'm putting it in there right. There we go. So I have it down in there. Now I'm gonna line the notch up that's on the bottom of that to go down into that slot. Light's kind of getting in my way a little bit. There, it's seated down in. Now I turned it. So now you can see the hoses are positioned where they need to be. They have the safety caps on there. I probably should have taken that safety cap off first, but that's just gonna be my fun to take off. So when you're putting your power back up to it, always make sure to dab a little bit with dielectric grease. That way it holds the power better and it just doesn't allow the power to leak out anywhere. It makes a better connection. So I'm gonna put the power back on there, make sure everything's seated in there right. I'll show you that, and then I'll show you how to prep it. So to make it super easy, always start with the back one first to make sure that one seats in there. That way you don't have any other hoses or anything in your way, and you can make sure that one is positioned on there first. And all these have is they have a little lip. And so when you push these tabs in, we'll show you, you can see this other side over here is what holds it in. So when I push this tab in, it moves that out of the way. So that ring sits on top of that little raised up piece right there. And that's how that was positioned, and that's why you push on that. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish putting those hoses on there, and then I'll show you how to make sure it's properly prepped with the key turns on your motor. So we have everything hooked back in. We'll show you how it looks. You can see both the hoses are hooked back on. It's important to make sure they're pushed all the way on to where the plastic ring seats in there again. And then you can see I have the power hooked up right down there. It's really important to make sure that dielectric grease is on there because it also helps with corrosion. And if you've ever played with boats, you know corrosion is the worst enemy, because if water gets in any of those seals, it can create a problem that's super, super simple to fix, but finding it is usually a pain in the butt. So now what we are going to do is we are going to prep it right now. So what you have to do is take your key and put it in the ignition, and then you turn it on the run setting. So you can see I have, kind of hard to see that, but I have 3 different settings. I have the off, the run, and the start. And you have to put it on the on or the run for 5 seconds. That preps it. Now you turn it over, and you turn it over, and you shut it off. There you go. So now it's prepped, you got a new fuel filter in there, and you're ready to rock and roll. Hope this video helped you guys out. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to follow on with the content. But God bless, and I hope y'all take care.